Never was there a more reluctant colonizer than Stephen Fuller Austin. Dismayed by his father's many failures, in November 1820 he traveled to New Orleans, where he met attorney Joseph H. Hawkins and began to study law. But a letter from his mother apprised him that his father, Moses, then desperately ill, had bequeathed his Texas enterprise to him. Austin was in Natchitoches, Louisiana, when he learned that Moses had died. Stephen noted,
"He was one of the most feeling and affectionate fathers that ever lived. His faults, I now say, and always have, were not of the heart."
all his family's hopes and aspirations now rested on Stephen's 24-year-old shoulders. Responding to duty's call, he abandoned his own ambitions for a legal career and with considerable ambivalence took up his father's mantle. Austin's doubts were well warranted. Seeking confirmation of his father's grant, he rode to San Antonio de Bexar, arriving on August 12, 1821. Along the way, he learned Mexico had achieved its independence from Spain. Would victorious Mexicans honor an agreement made by the very Spaniards they had just deposed? In Bexar, Austin met influential Tejano leader Jose Antonio Navarro and began a lifelong friendship. Navarro helped Austin navigate the arcane procedures of Spanish and Mexican law. Finally, Governor Antonio Maria Martinez, the same man who had earlier authorized Moses' grant, reapproved it, recognizing Stephen's leadership and under the same terms. Martinez further granted Stephen permission to explore between Bexar and the Brazos River for a suitable location for a colony. Having located the tract he wanted, Austin began to advertise in New Orleans, proclaiming that inexpensive acreage along the Brazos and Colorado rivers was now open for American settlers. By the end of the year, they had begun to arrive. It looked like the Texas venture was about to bear fruit when news arrived from Mexico City that upset all Austin's plans. Notwithstanding Governor Martinez's approval, the Junta Instituyente, Emperor Agustin de Iturbide's new Congress, rejected the Spanish land grant. Undeterred, Austin made the lengthy and grueling journey to Mexico City, teaching himself to speak Spanish along the way. Once there, he convinced the Junta Instituyente to endorse Moses' grant as well as Iturbide's law of January 3, 1823. It authorized the employment of impresarios, or land agents, to stimulate immigration. In March 1823, just when it seemed that Austin's Texas plans were about to gel, Iturbide abdicated, and the Congress negated the immigration law once more. Redoubling his efforts, Austin, now fluent in Spanish, worked his will on the new Congress. In April 1823, it approved a contract allowing Austin to transport 300 American settlers to Texas. Austin remained in Mexico City, helping officials hone their new constitution. In 1824, a new immigration law passed Congress. It authorized each Mexican state to oversee its public lands. In March 1825, the legislature of Coahuila y Tejas passed a law that revived Iturbide's impresario system. Largely because of Austin's determination and perseverance, conditions in Texas began to improve. By the end of 1825, the first 300 families had arrived in Austin's first colony. They earned distinction as the Old 300. While other impresarios operated in Texas, Austin was by far the most effective. Between 1825 and 1829, Mexican authorities were so impressed with his exertions that they granted him contracts to settle an additional 900 families. As impresario, Austin possessed considerable civil and military authority over his colonists. Even so, he exercised his power with a light hand, and settlers came to admire his prudence and fair play. The early immigrants struggled at first, but by 1829, Austin was able to boast to his brother-in-law.
This is the most liberal and munificent government on earth to immigrants. After being here 1 year, you will oppose a change, even to Uncle Sam.
Austin did not exaggerate. The Mexican government was so open-handed that American newcomers could hardly believe their good fortune. A head of a family, if a farmer, received 1 labor, or 177.1 acres, or, if he was a stock raiser, a sitio, a square league, or 4,428.4 acres. Consequently, few immigrants admitted to being sodbusters. These land-hungry Norte Americanos may have never owned a horse or punched a steer, but once in Texas, they became ranchers. In return, the Mexican government required the American settlers to convert to Roman Catholicism, at least on paper, provide evidence of their good character, again on paper, and improve their grants within 2 years. In theory, that was it. Yet some ingrates whined about the 12.5 cents an acre Austin charged as a surveying fee. Even so, most colonists understood how good they had it. After paying all administrative fees, a league and a labor together ran about 38 cents an acre. If the grantee did not have enough money in pocket, well, he could pay it out over time. Mexican Texas offered more opportunity than the land of opportunity itself. What was impossible elsewhere proved possible in Texas, and stories of its bounty flourished. American traveler Amos Andrew Parker visited Texas in 1834. While in Nacogdoches, he witnessed an astonishing transaction. An American immigrant had a fine-looking dog, which a native Tejano came to admire. He asked the American what he would take for the hound. Being fond of the pet, he priced it at $100. Recall that during the 1830s, $100 had the purchasing power of more than $2,000 in today's currency. The Tejano said he had no cash, but would sign over script for 4 leagues of land. Parker recounted,
The bargain was immediately closed. Truly, the old adage, dog cheap, ought to be reversed.
where but Texas could a person arrive virtually penniless and exchange the family mutt for more than 17,712 acres of prime real estate. Man's best friend, indeed.